Hey everybody, welcome today to Bluewave's webinar series, The Current. We have an incredible panel today. We're so excited for everyone to be able to hear a lot of great information around AI. Well, how about this? Your time is very valuable to us, and we have a wonderful panel today. We want to spend as much time as we can exploring all the different thoughts they have around artificial intelligence. So with that being said, Paul Weiss, take it away.
Well, thank you, Paul, and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us here. Uh, let's first introduce our topic, and then we'll introduce our participants and get started on the back and forth Q&A. We hope you all see great value in the time you're about to spend with us. So as Paul indicated, this is a webinar series, and it is created to provide information on the latest technologies and how they can help your business solve challenges, improve, and grow. When Bluewave looks at return on investment opportunities for our clients, we look at the company from the building blocks of technology, people, performance, and experience. And all of that is in service of operational efficiency and driving company revenue. Today, we are going to explore how technology that is well aligned to your business's needs can have a positive impact in all of these areas. And more specifically, we will view the efficacy of AI-based solutions from these perspectives: top down, bottom up, and outside in. And you might ask, what do we mean by that? So let's quickly explain. Top down is an approach to AI readiness. It's looking at the power of your own company data in all of its parts and pieces and all of its sources. And how do we optimize the business decisions and outcomes we're seeking as a business based on access to that data? How do we make those decisions in time so our business gets the best results? This is a big picture perspective on the efficacy of AI and the approach to AI readiness. Bottom up is the feet on the street value proposition, if you will. That is the idea of leveraging AI to empower your people to work collaboratively, efficiently, and effectively, enabling better experiences for everyone, your employees and your customers alike. Outside in is a perspective on leveraging AI to more expertly manage your company and brand reputation, to listen to and engage with your customers or your prospects on digital and social channels, to learn more about your performance, your people, your products, even your competitors than perhaps you are learning today. I think it is probably fair to say that the power to learn and improve from unsolicited online feedback from both your customers and the general public is largely untapped by most companies. We're going to talk about that today. So if optimizing the benefits of AI is a priority for your organization, you are in the right place, and welcome to our webinar. Today, our featured industry-leading subject matter experts are Christopher N. Johnson, Field CTO of Apps, Data, and AI at Netrix Global; Jamaal Savwoir, Head of UCXM, Partner Engagement at Nextiva; and Brandon Knight, Global Head of ZCX Ecosystem at Zoom. I am Paul Weiss, Managing Partner at Bluewave, and I will be your moderator. Today's conversation will be an open Q&A with our expert team. There is an open chat that will be monitored during the session, and some of those questions that you ask will be answered in real time throughout the session, and others perhaps saved for a little bit of open Q&A at the back end of our conversation. So with that, let's please first introduce our experts. We'll start with Chris. Tell us a little bit about yourself and Netrix Global.
Hey, thank you, Paul. I, as you mentioned, work for Netrix Global. We are a global IT managed services and professional services provider headquartered in Chicago, but with a presence all over the country and internationally as well. And I run our data, AI, and applications practice here. I've been doing this in the consulting world for about 15 years now, and more specifically in the data and AI side for the last 5 years. I've got experience across enterprise to the 40 or $50 million type projects all the way down to mom and pop shops, and primarily focused on the middle market. So very nice to be here and really excited to be part of this. Thanks.
Thank you, Chris. You are the only one of the panelists wearing glasses, but I will say the coolest glasses on the webinar for sure. And I know Jamaal feels the same way. He's a style guy, like,
Thank you.
so very, very
Definitely
cool.
picked
Very
up on the style.
cool. So Jamaal, there we go. Let's introduce yourself, please, to our group.
Well, good afternoon, everyone, and I guess good morning to anybody that's on the West Coast. As Paul mentioned, I'm Jamaal Savwoir. I'm the head of UCXM Partner Engagement here at Nextiva. My background is in unified communications, contact center as a service, and customer experience consulting most recently. But my technical background goes all the way back to enterprise management systems, software, process, and procedures back in the early 2000s. So been around technology for a long time, but really leaned into the passion around customer experience and how tools, applications, the right processes, procedures can really change the game for organizations that are looking to live on their customer experience performance. So I'm happy to be part of this webinar and really enjoy working with partners like Bluewave, who are really focused on helping customers find ROI amongst all the different tools, projects, and things that are trying to happen in the IT space around customer experience.
Thank you, Jamaal. It is a crazy and fast-moving marketplace, and helping make sense of all of that is something we think we do well. Thank you. Brandon, just in case everybody here doesn't already know you, there's a chance they might. I don't know. You're well known. Please say hello to the group.
Yeah, I just want to say hello. Thanks for joining us, guys. This is going to be awesome. I'm Brandon Knight. But the title is what it is. My primary responsibility is to be the lead evangelist for our CX program. Because if you, thankfully, I don't have to tell people who Zoom is. Unfortunately, because of COVID, we became a household name there. But my job is to let people know that we have a vibrant CX product and program, and really to just get the word out that we're a hell of a lot more than meetings.
Well, thank you, Brandon. So everybody, what we're going to do now is just have some questions and answers back and forth. We'll ask a few to the group at large, and then a couple that are targeted for each of our participants in the outside in, bottom up, top down, point of view that we laid out earlier. So the first question that I'll ask for the group, and again, for any of you who are participating here, feel free, as you are inspired by what you're hearing, to offer out a chat question to throw into the mix. We're happy to accommodate. So to the group, in any specific order that you can pounce on this, as we talk about all that is or can be great with AI adoption, and by the way, that sounds so abstract, right? AI adoption, what is the actual application of that in business is really part of the trick. But as we talk about AI adoption, what are the biggest factors that are presently stopping companies from leveraging or utilizing AI? And I'll pre-answer it a little bit. Is it lack of awareness of, like, okay, yeah, it's AI, that's an abstract concept. What does it really mean for me? Is it uncertainty on how or where to use it? Potentially concerns with governance and compliance, or others? I mean, those are three. So anybody who wants to hop out in the group, let's first talk about what we think are the obstacles that companies are facing that might be keeping them from advancing and progressing with AI.
Well, I'll start since I was going to defer to, but honestly, Paul, the answer is all the above. The reason is depending on your organization. There's the first thing is, and I think we've all done a disservice to the community, because the first thing is utter confusion, and that is people just not knowing what AI is, how to use it, and then you have well-meaning leaders who are just pointing down to their task people saying, "Hey, go get us AI. Our competitor has AI. Like go get it. Like it's something you can go buy on the shelf or something and stick in your business." And they don't really understand what it actually is. And then of course you hit on a huge one, is the fear factor and the lack of compliance. I mean, we don't have a lot of governance around it. And of course, when you have something as amazing and powerful as AI is, you also have that darker element. You have those nefarious characters who are interested in using it for their means. So I think there's a lot of factors that go into it, and pretty much everything you said would be the right answer for why it's moving the way it is. You have all this excitement. I need AI, I need AI, and you have all these other people going, yeah, maybe. Let's how and why.
I'll throw in
I'm
a
gonna
few things there.
yeah,
I mean, everybody's not a gadget gal or a tech bro, right? I mean, I've been in technology for a long time, and the prevalence of the conversations around AI makes me think all the way back to computers. Are you going to use computers in your business? How expensive is it? Who's going to get a computer? Who's going to get a portable computer to take home? Oh, the internet. You don't want to use that at work. That's for AOL at home, for email, right? So all of these technologies have an adoption curve. They have an applicability to what business people are trying to do. And that's where the challenges are, is like, hey, there's a big promise of what all this technology is going to do, but who's going to manage it? How is it going to be deployed? What are the risks? So those kinds of things come up as technology matures. But one of the things that kind of talks about the acceleration of this is people have probably seen these recent commercials from Google Gemini with people talking to their AI assistant. I'm not going to be one of those people. I'm not going to have conversations with Gemini, right? But
that seems
kids
lonely
might,
to me.
you know?
I'm just saying
Yeah.
out loud, that seems lonely to me. I don't think that's going to be me. But so I want to give Chris this question, but with a little bit of a curve, because we talked about awareness of benefit, uncertainty on efficacy or applicability in my business and where, and probably, by the way, there's many, many different applications that companies aren't thinking that AI even has a play, and it does. We talked about governance compliance, but I'm going to give you the readiness piece of that, right? Let's say I'm aware that it will benefit me. I'm pretty certain that I want to get to use it in certain areas, and I figured out how I might want to govern and comply. But boy, how's my it's got to access my data to be effective. Where does readiness fit into this equation?
I think we've all heard the phrase garbage in, garbage out, right? And AI has this amazing ability to find stuff in the deep corners of whatever folder or platform you give it access to. And it doesn't always know what's the single source of truth. It doesn't always know. I always give an example of, we build a lot of like chat bots where clients will say, I want you to just build me a little HR chat bot. And I want you to be able to ask it things like, what's our policy on sick leave? And the first question that we ask is, well, where do I find that policy? They're like, oh, well, it's in our intranet HR folder. All right, well, there's 6 of them. AI doesn't know which one's the right one. AI doesn't know a lot of those things. And so when it comes to readiness for AI, one of the questions we always ask is, how good is your data? And that applies to not just unstructured data like documents. That's one of the greatest things that generative AI gives us, is the ability to converse with and understand unstructured data. But what about the structured data? What about the stuff that you need answers to, that are not they're not gray, they're concrete? Getting your data ready for AI so that you can get the answers that you need when you need them, and formatted and correct, is one of the biggest challenges that we see with our clients.
Thank you. So let's dovetail that to our second question for the group. We like to talk about the promise of AI as a framework of better together. And I think that's an important perspective to have. Is there a reality that AI can do some of the work that humans do? And does that put people's jobs at risk? And, we're always having conversations about where return on investment might happen, and the use of people is part of that. But it's not an instead of, it is a better together. And most of the application for AI is to augment and accelerate the human work, or to deflect the menial so that the humans can focus on the more complex and the more human connected type interaction or workflows that they should be focusing on. So from that perspective, knowing that we're not snapping fingers to deploy AI, so let's caveat that. Give us a couple examples, or just even one, and we'll go back through the group in reverse order. So Chris, will stay with you. Give us an example of a quick win or a rapid return on investment that you may have accomplished or seen with a organization you worked with.
I'll start by saying that a lot of times it's easy to confuse AI with just plain old automation. And I think one of the biggest benefits of this AI revolution that we see is it's not necessarily just that that clients are willing to talk about AI, but for us, it's sort of an acceptance of, oh, hey, there's additional technology that could improve business outcomes. And sometimes that ends up being AI, sometimes that ends up being just plain old automation. And I can tell you that the quickest wins that we see tend to be on the automation end, with just the ability to get people connected with that automation more easily. And that's where generative AI comes in. That's where we see chatbots becoming really relevant. Not in these large scale, this is going to save us millions of dollars type of implementations, but more in the, I want to connect people to processes and I want to do it in a way that's intuitive. We see a lot of value in that because it's that back end automation that typically leads to the conversation.
So by the way, categorically, let's think about AI functioning in 3 different ways: automating, analyzing, and generating. And if you think about how it applies, automating work so that it takes less time to do things, analyzing larger data sets faster than we ever could, generating content, answers, responses after doing millisecond-based research on large data sets. Those are 3 sort of functional categories, and we talk about automation as a quick win that we've seen examples of. So Jamaal, I'll ask you the same question. Better together, kind of effective, fast, meaningful returns.
Yeah, I see those wins in sort of 3 buckets, and I have a little visual for that. If Paul Stark can put that on the screen. And
Sure.
you mentioned automation, which is a key bucket there of how you get ROI, because taking those tasks away from human hands, but also be able to control the quality of those outcomes. Delivering things that have a personal feel when you're in a sensitive customer interaction, or other things like that, do save time. It can save orders of magnitudes of time, and time is money, and many times dealing with customer experience. But there's that autonomy where you have AI agents that are trained on business and customer data that can do things on their own. But again, to Christopher's point, they're properly trained. They know where to get the right answers. There's the autopilot sort of opportunity, and then there's an agent assist opportunity as far as wins with AI in a customer experience scenario. But it's that balance of finding the business risk reward, making sure you can respect the right preferences, and it all starts with a mature set of data.
Excellent. So there's a little saying that best customer service is not having to service the customer at all, because their issue was preemptively resolved or solved through proactive outreach, or even through a recognition of a product defect that AI helped you recognize, so that you then didn't even create the problem that the customer had to respond to. And then beyond that they can self-serve their resolutions fast and easy in the channel they prefer at the time of day they prefer. And then beyond that, when they do interact with your people, that your people are fully enabled and empowered with assistance and capability, both in empathy and in knowledge, to have the most effective and productive interaction with that customer. So thank you, Jamaal. That is a great point. Brandon, let's have your answer up to that.
I think when you think about the direct impact, and the balance, I'll give you a quick example, for the people out there, because I think it's easier to see themselves when they see in business. If you're talking a contact center product, we all know that human beings are subjective, in their delivery of their work performance, right? So you can have 100 people take calls, and you're depending upon them to choose a resolution, right? We all know there's drop-down codes. Everyone knows the resolution that they're going to tell you why the person called, or what happened when they called them. There could be notes depending on what it is. And the interesting thing is, we in business use the accumulation of that data to make business decisions, like high-level business decisions on where the business is going to go. And unfortunately, a lot of that data depends on who took the phone call and what they thought was important. when you enter AI into that same scenario, now AI is listening to the phone call and AI is picking the disposition for you. AI is picking the resolution, and AI in a lot of cases can also make the notes. And now that information is reportable. You can crunch the data. So the accuracy and integrity of the data that you're using to make decisions when AI is picking the resolution, making the notes, goes way up. But you still need the human being to have that conversation and to pick through what the person wanted, and to have that personal touch. So I do agree completely with better together. Better together. I think, like you said, there's three buckets, right? We use automation when it counts, with self-service, like pin resets and account balances and things like that you don't need a human being for, because we know they're the most expensive resource, right? But then you use AI after a phone call or during a phone call to actually assist the agent on delivering better service as well, and providing reportable data after the fact. So they definitely go together.
So I'm going to stay with you, Brandon, on that topic. And you just provided a quick win example, as did Jamaal, from the perspective of customer experience and contact center and interactions, and making sure that customers get resolutions they need as quickly as possible, whether they're interacting with a bot or a human. Let's talk a little bit about, and everybody here on this call, all of our participants may or may not have contact centers, but they all have people in their company. They all collaborate, they communicate, they do meetings every day, all the time, and things like Zoom, right? So with Zoom Workplace, Zoom Contact Center, and WorkVivo, these are three Zoom platforms that are embedding AI capabilities. And maybe the one that's most obvious to everybody is, oh, now I can get automated transcribed meeting notes and summarizations, so I can be more effective in my follow-ups. So let's talk about some real specific examples of those big benefits that folks are seeing, both from a user perspective and a company perspective, across your three core platforms.
Well, I'll take Workplace first, because and this is selfish, because this hits home for me, and it may hit home for a lot of people viewing. My schedule sometimes tends to be back to back. Zoom is a great platform for meetings, and so some people forget, that when we used to have to go and travel, they allowed you travel time. Right now, the meetings all happen virtual, so they could be scheduled much closer together. And occasionally, I may run a few minutes late for a meeting, and without AI, you're going into the meeting. If you get into a meeting 5, 10, 15 minutes late, you're not sure if they talked about something that's relevant to you or not. We all know there's systems that can give you the summary after the fact, and after the meeting you can look. But one of the things I like, as a specific example with AI Companion, is getting caught up in that moment. Because I can go into a meeting 10 minutes late and ask AI Companion to tell me what happened before I got there, even though I wasn't in the meeting, and to tell me if my name was said or mentioned. And I don't have to slow the meeting down and annoy people because I'm the guy that showed up a little late. I'm not advocating being late to meetings, guys. For those of you out there, all right, be respectful of people, but it happens, all right. And so that's a specific case that I appreciate in the workplace environment. We talked about the contact center one. I mean, it's all the automation that you can provide to both assist an agent and a customer is where you want to use it. I gave the example of getting the right disposition code after the fact and using data, but also expert assist that will listen in on a call and tell an agent in real time what a person might be calling about, or where you should go in the knowledge base for an answer. Even in the quality product, we all know that if you're a supervisor managing a contact center, you have a number of agents. You're supposed to listen to them. You're supposed to give quality feedback on them, and everybody has these customized scoring systems. Well, no human being can listen to all of the calls, not even for all their agents. Forget about all the company. But an AI quality product can do that. It can listen to all the calls. It can listen for specific words and phrases and all kinds of things that could then send actionable information, specific actionable information to a leader to respond to. So I don't want to take up all the time, but there's so much that we've embedded AI into these products.
I just want to stay on this for one quick second for everybody. I find it interesting with so many companies that we work with that, the contact center operations are the customer service and retention. If you think about the cycle of a customer, right? They are aware of you, they're attracted to you, they engage with you, you convert them, you service them. So much of the focus in contact center is in that service and retention for the most part. Sometimes contact centers are about outreach and robo dialing and the like. But for many organizations, they are analyzing interactions for great reasons, right? Why are my customers calling? What are their top intents? What are their dissatisfiers? How are we contributing to their satisfaction or dissatisfaction? And how can I coach and improve each individual person? Because nobody is a monolith. We all get better in our own ways. But the sales operations inside so many of these companies are completely unchecked. They're in meetings like this all day. They're in mediums that can be transcribed, that can be analyzed, that you can provide coaching and guidance for, so you get more effective sales results. And that activity is largely Wild West still. Contact center is operating in a team framework. Sellers are operating as individual sellers on whatever devices. And the truth is, you can apply that same, how do I improve my results? How do individual sellers get better? Again, not all monoliths. Some people are stronger at different aspects of the selling cycle than others. Getting better is on purpose, and you can do that both in how you engage and convert customers, as well as how you service them with the right tools that are available, and they are available to you. So I wanted to make that point. Jamaal, if you had, sorry, Jamaal, I said Jamaal. Brandon, I'm about to go to Jamaal. Brandon, do you have anything you want to just kind of punctuate on that, or?
Yeah, actually, I do a shameless plug for an effective product. One of our products that not many people might not know about is Revenue Accelerator. It does exactly what you're talking about for a sales team, a business development team, a channel manager, anyone. It can actually provide valuable insights on their interactions, and also provide information on their prospect, information on their customer, the potential for that customer to be cross-sold or upsell, what products you have maybe specific to them based on where their business is at that time. So like you said, we often talk about the CX as, inbound or the customer. But one of the great things that I like to say about our products and our industry is we don't sell contact centers. We sell contact center technology. So the technology applies outside the contact center. It applies to human resource teams, sales teams, just about anyone and everyone, especially workplace products. So thank you for bringing that up.
Thank you. And so, Jamaal,
Yeah.
this segues naturally into a question I was intending to ask you anyway. When folks do think about customer experience, they tend to align that to the contact center experience. And it is hugely important, but it is a spoke on the wheel, not the entire wheel. We just talked about attraction, engagement, conversion, and servicing as a cycle.
Yep.
How is Nextiva and the technologies that you bring forth helping companies not just keep their customers, but also find them?
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that sort of direct path of, awareness to conversion to sale to service, because that's that direct path of folks engaging with your organization or your organization engaging directly with them. What's new and relevant and valuable to most organizations now is that other dimension of awareness and attention and influence that you have in the social media space, in review sites, in all the places where there are conversations going on about your brand, about your product or service, but not directly to you. So those are key insights that most organizations are missing out on. And if you think about it in the context of scale, from a B2B type organization, there might be 8 times as many conversations going on out in the marketplace about your product or service that are not directly to your customer service agents. But in a B2C context, that could be 80x, 800x because of the network effect of people having those conversations, posting on review boards, using social media to either attract or detract from your brand. And those are things that organizations need to get their arms around. So the benefit of leveraging artificial intelligence, the type of technology that Nextiva brings to the table, is gathering those insights in an automated fashion, but applying your business rules to what raises to the level of an alert, something you need to respond to, and giving you tools to respond to that very quickly. So those are key factors that many businesses need to consider because of that, all those conversations that are going on outside in the world, and making sure that you have a consolidated set of tools that can pull all those conversations in and allow you to react to them and influence them yourself.
The highest percentage of consumers rely on consumer feedback. They don't necessarily trust the message that comes directly from the brand. I am guilty of, okay, at 4.7 stars, I'll eat there, right? Versus 4.2, I won't. So, literally, I'm actually not kidding. I literally think that way.
Yep.
And we all go onto Amazon and we're like, is that a half a star, 4.5 versus 4? And it literally makes your difference. And you'll spend the $29 on the extra half a star. It is that important. And when the feedback is unsolicited, it tends to be more honest than when they respond to your survey. It tends to give you a broader sample of the actual feedback. It's oftentimes a little more hurtful, and if it's negative at all, and it will proliferate, to Jamaal's point. And so it's hugely impactful to grapple with that. Customers in B2B and B2C can learn a lot about your company before they ever interact with you. And some of what they learn may talk them out of interacting with you. And we see that an awful lot. And so I did a project, just a quick little tangent, with a large reputable law firm here in Philadelphia. Spent millions of dollars on advertising and is a very successful firm. What they didn't realize is that their intake operation was bruising their prospects, and the experience was not perfect. And there was a ton of that feedback online, and they weren't responding to it. When one of their national competitors, who we all see the commercials for every day, was responding to them one at a time, carefully and thoughtfully. And if I look at that and I say, who do I want to engage with? Maybe it's that other firm. This is really, really important stuff. So tell us just a little bit, Jamaal, about kind of some of the investments and what Nextiva has done to in this effort to build this kind of full cycle CX platform, right? From basic contact center and AI and social listening. Tell us a little bit about what you've done there.
Yeah, it's a great story behind the founders of Nextiva really recognizing the prevalence of these tools in the marketplace and the need for businesses to manage those reputations and again have one place to go.
And by the way, they're almost all presently constructed as point solutions.
Correct.
That are a little bit here, a little bit there, not orchestrated inside of a platform like yours.
Yeah, if your marketing team goes out and buys something that helps them with ads, it might come with a tool that helps them respond just to those ads, but it's not going to be ubiquitous across your Yelp and your Google reviews and your TripAdvisor and all the other places where people are having conversations about your brand. So being able to have a platform that can seek those things out, pull them into one place, and apply AI solutions on top of it to be able to organize, raise the right concerns, automate responses to the right concerns and things like that is something that Nextiva invested in April of 23 with an acquisition, and then another acquisition early in January of a global contact center platform by the name of Trio that gives us global reach and gives us a system that is built by CX professionals for CX professionals. It's really designed to be bespoke at scale. So we have a lot of opportunities to customize that, fit the solution to customers' business processes, and make sure that they're leveraging all the information about their brand, reputation, about their agent interactions, and other things to help them make great decisions about customer experience.
Thank you, Jamaal. So Christopher, we talked about top-down, about getting all of the power and insight from your company data that you can, and that is a top of the list conversation we're having across the board with organizations of all sizes and in every vertical. Let's quickly talk about retrospective analysis, right? Looking at my data so I can learn. There is a descriptive outcome, right? What happened? That's maybe a basic BI visualization tool. What just happened? Diagnostic. okay, why did what happened just happen? Where AI is leaping past the BI tools, which are generally descriptive, what happened, is giving us more insight into why things happen, predictive insight into what will happen next, and prescriptive insight into how can I make something happen. And what a leap that is from simply understanding what happened. None of that is possible without having the appropriately aligned language models, the AI tool sets, as well as the appropriate access to accurate and good and relevant data. So let's talk about that as, the hurdles to the effective use and the challenge that is, and how you're helping companies overcome that.
Well, I love hearing about some of the products that people have built to interact with humans, right? Things like Zoom and Nextiva. Where I generally see and meet clients is because sort of uniquely to this group, at least, I do a lot of strategic advisory. And so what I very often see is clients who have started to use this technology, and it's getting them results. They're getting more meetings, they're getting more effective meetings, they're getting improved Salesforce. But the question always comes next, okay, but here's where we see something hallucinating, or here's where we see ourselves falling over. And when we talk about AI's ability to really take in all sorts of data from multiple sources, and I sort of alluded to this earlier, there's a really critical step, which is make sure that it's doing it the right way, and make sure that your data, sort of independent of everywhere that it comes from, is presented not only to AI, but to humans in the right context, and in a way that makes it actually valuable, as opposed to creating more noise. Actually, I got a slide that sort of visualizes this a little bit.
I think we should pull that up. I think it's a visual, and it actually leads into my next question, which is, in the interactions with the companies that we're working with, everybody's in some different point of their trajectory. And by the way, there could be a mature use of AI in a sliver over here of the company, but not in other areas. Let's talk about the typical current state for companies that are towing the line on AI, and what let's say a better outcome future state might look like.
Well, and everyone wants to touch it. And in the consulting world, it started off really great because there were these giant budgets like, hey, we can spell AI, come on in and build something for us. What we started to find is once you start looking under the covers, most clients' data is everywhere. It is all over the place. And there are, in many cases, one-off applications of what we call data intelligence, sort of in pockets throughout the organization. Sometimes you have a little bit of governance around it, sometimes you don't. And what this ends up doing is, even though we have access to all these tools, especially now, as I talked about AI giving us sort of conversational access to data, the second, and we've all interacted with ChatGPT at very minimum. Most of us have used some of these enterprise-ready products now. The second you get an answer, or you get something that's not right, your trust level goes down. And imagine you're in one of those business critical calls. Imagine, Brandon, you're talking about the ability for us now to analyze sales calls as they're happening. Imagine you get that. Imagine that you are, you've got a client on the hook and you're ready to make your pitch, and you come out and you say something that's supposed to meet them right where they are, but because you pulled up the wrong data, you actually give them the wrong price point. Now, those of us who've been in sales, you get the first price the client hears is the one they remember. And imagine you do that wrong. That's where we start to see the value of data governance and the value of actually streamlining your data platform. Because as that trust goes down, then adoption is going to suffer as well. If you can move to the next slide. So this is really where we see our clients starting. And this is where we like to sort of get them to. And it's not, it's never one stop. And as I mentioned, we do a lot of advisory. We aren't a product company. We are a professional services firm. And so when we talk about top down, we like to talk about, well, what's the use case? And what does it look like to start at the very top and understand how we're interacting?
Before you go further, what you're saying right now ties to a question that was just raised out of the chat. And so, like killing two birds with one stone, the question, and it's a really good one, what steps should a non-tech organization take to initiate internal discussions about AI and understand its potential value to the organization? That is a really good question. And I can understand that because AI is techie and we're not a techie company, and that's kind of the curse of the message of AI, because what you're talking about isn't tech, it's business, it's utility, it's the problem we're trying to solve. So continue, but keep that question in mind as you do.
Well, it's a great question. And, often I have clients ask me, well, just tell me what AI can do, right? Everyone's looking to plug it in somewhere. And I like to kind of flip that on its side and say, okay, well, imagine instead of me telling you how to approach AI as an organization, just for a second, think, what if you had a magic wand? I don't care if it's AI, I don't care what it is. Talk to me about your business and what some of the major hurdles that you face are. And imagine you could snap your fingers and those hurdles are either eliminated or reduced. I can't promise that AI can do that, but when you're thinking about how do you chart your path to AI, start at the top. Start at, where do we struggle? What are some of the things that prevent us? What's causing customer churn? What's causing us to lose sales? What's causing quality defects or inefficiencies? Start there. Come at it from the standpoint of a business problem. And then let's look at the AI solutions that can apply to it. Instead of this sort of boil the ocean concept of, well, let's look at everything AI can do and see if we can go, pound that square peg into a round hole.
So that's a great answer to a great question. From Bluewave's perspective as an advisory organization, we like to talk to our clients about navigating the perils of self-inspection first, before you leap into the market. Aimless, without clear, concise purpose, time gets wasted and ill-informed decisions get made. The time to self-inspect in meaningful and effective ways is paid off in perpetuity, because it will inform better decisions. We have, and I talked earlier about technology, people, performance, and experience. We have what we call our return on investment finder. And it's a curated questionnaire in each of those categories that, based on the answers given, will tell us where, to your point, Christopher, those pains, those challenges, and in some cases, it's not even the felt pain where the benefit is. We had an organization that had a felt pain around a limited amount of tech spend and a poorly aligned vendor relationship. We went through this ROI finder, and this company is now realizing millions of dollars of return on investment and how they hire and train their employees in more effective ways. Wasn't even a benefit they had on their radar, but because we had this practical question approach that identified and provided clarity on problems, then we could get serious about how to solve the problems, and if AI is in the equation of solving the problem at all. And so 100%, that's a really, really good question. I do want to add something, and then I'll get Brandon.
No, you go ahead. I wanted to add something to that question. So if you're gonna continue on that question, you go ahead, sir.
No, I'm actually going to kind of give a different perspective on something. So stay on that for now.
For the non-technical people trying to talk about AI, there's an analogy that I use that I think it can be helpful to move it away from the technology conversation. So if you think about, like, you're making a meal, it's important to understand that AI is not the meat, the starch, or the vegetable. It's not an off-the-shelf like product thing. AI is more like the seasoning. It's more like onion powder or a good seasoning salt. It can accentuate what you're doing and what you have. But to your point, one thing I think is important is, even before you start seasoning meat and cooking it, you first make decisions about what type of steak I'm going to have,
I'm
where
gonna
I'm going to
make.
get it from. You know what I mean? You checking the date on it. You're looking at the size of it, and I think that's a huge part that's missed in this space, and something that customers, it's not the time where you want to let your pride, get you in trouble. You want to get someone to look at your existing business and evaluate it for optimization. Your business's practices, and you did a great job of explaining how Bluewave does that, but your business practices should be optimized first. And then you look at, okay, now that we're functioning on a process level the best we can, what can AI do to accentuate that? What can we automate? What can we speed up? What can we put some analytics around? And I think that's a better way of looking at that.
That's great. And coming out of that effort, and it's still on that question then. Now I've inspected kind of the challenge space for my organization. The next step is really just a job description. You're hiring AI like you'd hire an employee, right? What do I expect it to do for me? What would I budget for that performance and that job? And what is my expected outcome? It's something we've been doing for years. We would just apply that same type of methodology. So I want to throw something out and then we can react to it. I'll try to get this out fast. So buzz, AI, right? Is it overhyped? Is it real? And the answer is it's both. Does my tailor-made driver need AI so I can hit the ball further? I think that's probably gimmicky.
Mine
But
does, but
it is.
Mine need
It is
all the help
because I'm not hitting the ball
We can
further.
slice.
But I want to be clear that the emergence and importance of AI is very real. And it's not just a little bit real. There are tactical challenges for businesses, there are strategic challenges for businesses, and there are existential challenges. And we believe that the emergence of AI and how companies will leverage it or not is an existential challenge. Let me give you a couple examples. A tactical challenge could be, I'm going to insource or outsource my IT help desk. The tactic, it matters. It impacts cost and performance, and it moves the company needle a little bit. A strategic example could be a more purposeful transformation to the cloud, communications technologies, infrastructure, storage, dev, production. That matters a lot, and it moves the company's success needle even more. But AI represents an existential challenge because harmonizing human and AI talent is or will be a requirement for just about every business. And those that don't will wind up spending more money than they should and potentially losing revenue and customers. I'll give you a tangible example. Company one uses a cognitive AI model to build a representative customer base that reflects their demographies. They test out messaging content to that base, and within days, they can launch a message that predictably will go viral in a positive way. Company two does not leverage the cognitive AI model. They're a little less sure of the impact their message will have. They take longer to get it out, and it doesn't have the impact. Company one sees huge brand awareness and revenue growth. Company two does not. The needle moved a lot for company one and not at all for company two. And so when we talk about existential challenge, we're talking about the potential impact to move the needle. And AI and its capabilities broadly, if well-purposed and well applied, can and will move the needle in ways, as we sit here today, we're still not all entirely even sure, because it's going to continue to grow and change rapidly. But I wanted to offer that why we're all here, and I think why you are all listening to this, is the recognition that it is something more than just a tactical change in how I do something every day. It means more to the business. So with that, I'd like to offer the group a question, which is, anybody take it. What is the biggest takeaway? I just gave the group mine. What is the biggest takeaway that you want our participants here to leave with, so they can be thinking about and preparing for, the AI conversations? And we might repeat a few things that you've already said, but that's okay. Let's underline what the biggest takeaway that you're hoping to deliver is. Jamaal, you're on my screen.
Yeah.
first, so we'll go with you.
Yeah, and I have a little visual because I know as we talked about the different ways that AI is employed and deployed and utilized, that it can be challenging to figure out like where am I going to get the real bang for the buck, or where am I going to get the real investment of time, because that's what we really can't get back. So when I think about that outside in strategy and how you get the benefits of that on a great UCXM platform, it really out of this whole set of 6 things, I really think it's important that it aggregates and leverages both the structured and the unstructured data. A lot of what happens outside of the organization is that unstructured data. It's not something you're going to find with keywords. That's an antiquated technology. You need that conversational layer that understands natural language, that can understand multiple languages, not just English, but be able to pull all those insights together and give you a full, as you said, scope of what's happening in the whole customer experience, and not just the one spoke of the things that are directly coming at your organization. And it also, when you think about in the customer experience context, everybody in the organization wants to be empowered to deliver a great customer experience. And I think that's what the power of the tool really does, is it brings that information in with the insights. So everyone in the organization feels empowered to deliver a great customer experience and understand where, hey, that person may have heard about a problem from some outside source, but now we can address it because we know that that conversation is happening in the marketplace. So these are the things I think are real takeaways in terms of where you can get outcomes. Those translate to returns on your investment and translate into a big power source for your organization.
So great point. Can you actually pull that slide back up for one quick second? Anybody here that's got Tableau or Power BI, right? You've got the tool that deals with structured data and does that sort of descriptive analysis we talked about. And there's a whole lot of room between that and what we talked about with prescriptive and making impact versus just recognizing what happened, and also corroborating with and analyzing the unstructured data. So these aren't things you can jam into those tools. It really does require appropriate tooling, and that's what Jamaal's talking about. And so, Christopher, I'll give this to you to both talk about the biggest takeaway, but also, kind of tying it to what we just talked about. Your data's everywhere. Are you mining it appropriately? What are the blind spots? And then let's assume we figured all that out. Then how do we get appropriate access to it? Let's just talk, from that perspective, what's the biggest takeaway you want viewers to leave with?
Well, I think it relates to that, and I just saw another question come in that I'll tie that to as well. And the question was, how do you strike the right balance between quantity and quality? And I think my big takeaways is start with the problem first, right? Start with what it is that we're trying to solve, and at least have a grip on, where you think you can apply a solution that's going to move your business forward. On the flip side, you understand that that solution is going to be rooted in your organization's data. And we've talked about that. And so when we talk about quality versus quantity, you might not know which of those you really need to focus on. And I'll give you an example. Just at a high level, things like machine learning models, those are so dependent on data quantity, because you have to be able to go through those iterations and figure out, okay, how many times can I play this over and over again? And because as long as that data source is good, and you're okay with it and you trust it, then that quantity is what you're looking for there. That may not be what you need right away, but that's definitely something you're going to need initially. And so when we talk about striking the balance between quality and quantity, I say you need to do both. You need to go pull in that data, all of that unstructured data, and you need to be able to start right now, looking at every piece of data that your organization has access to and figure out how you're going to get your arms around it. You don't have to finalize it. You don't have to perfect it, but you have to know where it is and you have to be able to ingest it. And then as those business needs evolve and as you start to be able to say something like, okay, well, now I want to know why something's happening. Now you've got that data and you started to model it, or you started to collect it and you have it at your fingertips. So I always say start with the business problem, and generally That's going to go to, I need high quality data to answer a specific question or to empower a solution. But then the second you start to get to beyond that, you're going to want to have your arms around as much data as you can so that you can enable some of those more advanced workloads.
Thank you, Christopher. I'll invite everybody in this audience to simply Google making good decisions, and you'll be all kinds of tools and things. But the first two things that Google's going to tell you, because it's actually true, is you recognize and research the problem, and you gather all the relevant data and analyze it accurately, right? Those are the very first two things. I'll tell you what the threats to good decision making is. And by the way, this is in even how you order your dinner at night. Lack of time, lack of reliable data, and uncertainty on options. Those three things are what businesses are dealing with every day, because we're all constrained in all of those ways. It's what leads to ill-informed decisions. It's what jumps us into the marketplace before self-inspecting. Start with the problem. And then if you need to pull in a resource team, shameless plug for Bluewave, this is where the methodologies, the acumen, and the experience, having been in these conversations over and over again, as well as our participants here, can help you with both problem recognition, bring time and certainty to your decision-making processes. So Brandon, let's close that same question with you, and then we'll close it up for the group.
Yeah, I know I'm going to go fast because we're at the end. I don't want to be the only one with a slide. So can we put up the slide that we have? I think I need to show something too. I'm gonna show a visual. Stark, if you got that. And even though this slide is about, which I don't see yet. But okay, even though this slide is about the innovation of Zoom, the one takeaway that I'd like to leave everyone with is put your company on this same map. And when you think about AI, you think about us, we were doing, meetings and webinars. We didn't think about AI expert assist 10 years ago. We weren't thinking about the contact center, 10, 11 years ago. But we, like every progressive company, we adapted to our environment, we adapted to customer demand, and created the products that were necessary to be successful. I think companies should look at AI the same way. We talked a lot about how you can use it. We talked about the governance. We talked about fear. We talked about all these things. The one thing that is consistent in all that is AI is here. It's not going anywhere, and you best figure it out. It's not a game where you can be on the sidelines and think like, well, it's okay. That's just too much. Whether you dip your toe in it, like Christopher said, or you go all in, like some other companies are talking about, you have to start somewhere. This is not something you can watch happen from a business perspective. It's too important, and it's too impactful, and it's changing almost the way we do every single thing that we do as a business.
Existential. Thank you, Brandon. So there is our webinar. We went a minute long. We apologize. We hope everybody enjoyed your time away, your time with us, and took something away from the session. We look forward to your feedback and potential conversations that may come from this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Hi, everyone.